Welcome back. Now, Oscar Pistorius is continuing to push for early release from prison. The convicted killer has approached the courts to force a parole hearing. Pistorius is set to argue that he has served more than half of his sentence, which makes him eligible for parole. He's serving 13 years for killing his girlfriend Riva Steenkamp in 2013. Let's get legal analysis now from Storm Barry. She's from the Ulrich Roux and Associates. Thank you very much, Storm, for your time here on eNCA. Just firstly, is it a good enough argument to say that you've served more than half of your sentence and therefore you deserve to be released?
Hi, Masego. Yes, thank you so much for having me. Yes, most definitely. One must always remember that the main requirement for parole in South Africa and to be considered for parole in South Africa, an offender must first serve half of their term. So even though Oscar Pistorius is who he is, the usual conditions for parolees would apply to Pistorius if parole is granted to him. So that is definitely an argument that that's what is at the forefront of his argument right now in forcing them to and compelling them to allow him to actually apply for parole.
And just tell us the process in terms of going straight to the courts. Is it because maybe he might have tried the parole review board or the correctional services and his lawyer is not being heard? What's the process? Why did he go straight to court?
Yeah, you must remember there's the issue with this entire matter is that he has been sentenced now 3 times. So there's a whole bunch of confusion with Pistorius and you know the anti-dating of the order is currently now what's caused the confusion. It was originally calculated that Pistorius would only come up for parole in early 2023. But it's now emerged that they failed to take into account the time that he already had spent in jail. It was 503 days. By the time the eNCA, the Supreme Court of Appeal, at the time handed down Pistorius's extended sentence of 13 years and 5 months in 2017. So the court at that stage made it clear that the time Pistorius served must be taken into account. In August last year, the eNCA amended the ruling on his 13-year and 5-month sentence for the second time. So it was antedated to October of 2014, which was when he was originally sentenced for culpable homicide. But there's serious confusion with the matter now as it stands. And it reflects badly on our criminal justice system. Him and his attorneys have run to court because, and much like the parole board's actually written a letter to the Supreme Court of Appeal seeking clarity on when exactly Pistorius qualifies for parole. It's an administrative nightmare. They still haven't received a response. There's severe confusion. So we can only just wait and see what response that is. But until then, this is why they've run to court, because he's clearly of the belief that he applies for parole, having now allegedly served half of his sentence.
And I mean, talking about how you're saying this is an indictment on our criminal justice system, these are one of those cases where we need there not to be a administrative nightmare because of how big this particular case is. I mean, this case was basically dubbed the case of the century, and there were people who were even watching it from the States.
Exactly. I mean, this is a quote-unquote fallen hero in South Africa, right? And everyone's got their eyes peeled. Look, not much has happened since 2016, 2017 for Pistorius, but now, you know, he has allegedly served half of his sentence, and he believes that he's eligible for parole. You know, the authorities believe differently, and that's where we find ourselves now. But exactly, I mean, this is a South African hero that everyone held in good stead and put on a pedestal, and then this obviously all happened. And you would think that our criminal justice system would put this at the forefront. You know, if this can't run straightforward and cleanly and the way it should be as is set out in our acts. I mean, our Correctional Services Act is one of our excellent acts. Then how can we expect the the other matters in our country to run and for justice to be served, you know.
All right. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us and for your legal analysis on this particular case. That was lawyer Storm Barry. She is from